When Mira found the deleted Disney photos, she didn't just discover a secret trip. She uncovered 5 years of favoritism, lies, and betrayal, hidden behind family smiles. Welcome to African Tales by Hope, where African stories come alive. Subscribe and join the family of storytellers. Rain poured in steady sheets as Mira stood in her parents' driveway, her jacket clinging to her skin. The yellow light from the porch flickered across the wet concrete, glinting off the Mickey Mouse tags hanging from 2 suitcases beside the door. Her fingers trembled, not from the cold, but from the fire burning in her chest. Behind her, in the car, Lonnie and Mason were asleep, their faces soft and peaceful. They had no idea their grandmother had just torn open a wound Mira had been trying to ignore for 5 years. The tags on the bags said Kara and Sophie, her sister Rena's daughters. Another Disney trip. The 4th one this year. For 5 years, Mira had told her kids, "Maybe next year, baby." For 5 years, her parents had said, "Disney is expensive. You understand, right?" And she had understood, until tonight. It wasn't a post on Facebook that broke her. It was an accident. Her cousin Dana had sent photos to the family group chat. 53 of them. Her parents, her sister, and Rena's kids. Matching shirts, wide smiles, fireworks, Mickey-shaped waffles. Disney magic for everyone but her children. When her mother, Clara, opened the door in a bathrobe, her face froze in shock. "Mira, what are you doing here this late?" "We need to talk," Mira said, her voice steadier than her shaking hands. "Can it wait till morning? Your father's asleep. Did you just get back from Orlando?" Clara's face drained of color. For a moment, the only sound was the rain slapping against the porch. Then she stepped aside. "Fine. Come in." The familiar smell of peach cobbler drifted through the house. The same dessert Clara always baked after every family trip. Mira had once thought it was guilt baking. Now she knew better. It was celebration baking. "How much did this trip cost?" Mira asked, standing in the living room where her kids weren't allowed to eat snacks because they make crumbs. "Mira," her mother sighed. "I don't appreciate your tone." "How much, Mama?" "That's between your father and me. We worked hard for our money. We can spend it however we want." Mira laughed bitterly. $6,000. That's how much. Kara told Lonnie about the Cinderella Castle suite. $1,500 a night. You stayed 4 nights. That's $6,000 before park tickets and souvenirs. Her voice cracked. You've spent more on one trip for them than on my kids in 5 years combined. Clara's lips pressed into a thin line. Rena's girls are younger. They appreciate these things. Lonnie was 5 when she first asked to go. Mira shot back. Mason was 3. They would have appreciated it too. Just then Paul, her father, appeared at the top of the stairs. His gray hair was mussed from sleep, but his voice carried its old weight. Why are you yelling in my house? Why did you lie to my kids for 5 years? Mira demanded. Paul descended slowly, his hand gripping the rail. We didn't lie. We said maybe next year. Maybe never came. Those words hit Mira like a slap. You spent $5 on a toy truck for Mason last Christmas, she said quietly. You bought Kara an American Girl doll set worth $300. How do you not see the difference? You're exaggerating, Clara said. No, I've been keeping track. Her voice broke. You make it sound like my children don't deserve magic, like they're not good enough for your love. Paul's footsteps echoed on the hardwood floor as he reached the bottom of the stairs. He folded his arms, looking at his daughter like she was a stranger. You're making a scene, he said. I'm making a point, Mira replied. For 5 years, you've treated my kids like they're invisible. Her voice trembled, but she didn't stop. You missed Lonnie's 7th birthday because you were busy. Then I saw pictures. You were at Kara's princess party. You even wore matching shirts that said Princess Squad. Clara's cheeks flushed. That was Rena's idea. And you said yes, Mira shot back. You always say yes to her. Paul rubbed his temples. You're bringing up old things. That's not healthy. Old things. Myra's laugh was hollow. This isn't ancient history, Dad. You missed Mason's kindergarten graduation because you were taking Rena's girls to a spa day. You've missed every big moment in my kids' lives, but you've never missed a recital, a pageant, or a trip for theirs. Clara looked away, her arms tightening across her chest. You know Rena's situation. She's a single mother. She needs help. So do I. Mira cried. I've been raising 2 kids alone since Carlos died, and I never asked you for anything except love. I've worked double shifts, paid my bills, and made sure my kids never went without. But somehow, That makes me less deserving. Paul's jaw clenched. You've always been independent. You didn't want our help. I wanted your presence, not your money, Mira whispered. I wanted my kids to feel like they mattered. The silence that followed was sharp enough to cut through bone. Then Clara said softly, maybe if you'd made better choices, things would be different. Mira blinked. Better choices? You know what I mean. Clara's tone shifted, defensive, almost guilty. Having children before marriage. I was engaged, Mira interrupted. Carlos died in a car accident, Mama. That wasn't a choice. That was tragedy. Her mother's face flickered with discomfort, but Paul's voice cut in, cold and dismissive. That was 7 years ago, Mira. You've had time to move on. I have moved on. I'm a nurse. I own my home. My kids are honor students. What more do you want from me? Clara exhaled, her eyes hardening. You don't need us like Rena does. You're stable. And you punish me for it, Mira said, tears finally spilling down her cheeks. You reward her chaos and resent my strength. Do you know how cruel that is? No one answered. The ticking clock filled the silence. Myra's heart pounded so loudly she could hear it in her ears. She reached into her purse and pulled out her phone. I've been keeping notes. You want facts? Here they are. She scrolled through the screen, reading aloud through tears. Lonnie's 9th birthday. You promised to take her to the aquarium. You canceled because Kara had a dance recital. Mason's 6th birthday. You said you'd come, but you were shopping for school clothes for Rena's kids. Mason's birthday is in March. Paul sighed, exasperated. Mira, enough. No, she snapped. You said you couldn't help when Lonnie needed glasses. $200 after insurance. That same month, you bought Kara a designer puppy for $1,500. And when Mason needed braces, you called it not essential. But 2 months later, you went to Disney again. Her mother's voice rose. That's a different situation. No, it's not. Myra's voice shook with fury. The only difference is which grandchild it's for. Paul's face darkened. You need to leave. You're not going to stand here and insult your parents. I'm not insulting you, Mira said quietly. I'm describing what you did. Just as Paul turned away, the front door swung open. The wind blew in, carrying the smell of wet earth and something sweet, strawberry shampoo. Rena stood there, clutching a set of keys, her 2 daughters behind her still in Disney pajamas. Their hair smelled like hotel soap, their faces flushed from travel. Mama, what's going on? Rena asked, looking between her mother and sister. Why is she yelling at you? Mira stared at her sister, speechless for a moment. Then her voice came out low, controlled. You knew, didn't you? Rena frowned. Knew what? That they've been telling my kids maybe next year, while taking yours 4 times. Rena hesitated, eyes darting to their mother. That's not my fault. They offered. Did you ever say no? Mira demanded. Did you ever tell them my kids wanted to go too? Rena's face reddened. Why should I have to? You could take your own kids if you wanted. Myra's jaw tightened. You think I haven't tried? You think raising 2 kids alone on a nurse's salary leaves me room for a $6,000 vacation? The youngest girl, Sophie, peeked from behind Rena. Aunt Mira, she said softly. Lonnie can come next time. We'll share our Mickey ears. Rena spun on her. Sophie, hush. Then she turned back, her voice sharpening. You're jealous, Mira. You've always been jealous that Mama and Daddy help me. Help you? Mira repeated, almost laughing. They bought you a house, Rena. They pay your car note, your girl's school tuition, even your phone bill. You're 34 years old and still calling Mama when you can't find your shoes. That's enough. Clara shouted. You're not going to talk to your sister like that. Mira turned to her mother. Oh, but she can talk to me like I'm dirt, right? Paul stepped forward. We're not having this discussion in front of the children. They're already part of it, Mira said. They're the reason I'm here. Rena scoffed. You think you're better than me because you have a job and a mortgage. No, Mira said softly. I thought we were equal. I was wrong. The room fell silent except for the soft sniffles of Sophie, who started crying. Clara rushed to comfort her, pulling the little girl close and glaring at Mira as if she were the villain. Something inside Mira shifted. Not an explosion, but a quiet, final crack. You know what? She said finally, her voice calm but cold. This is exactly why I came. To see it with my own eyes. Rena crossed her arms. To see what? To see how deep it goes. How much you all pretend this is normal. Paul rubbed his forehead. Mira, we love your kids. Then why don't you show it? She shot back. Why does my daughter have a list of things her cousins have that she doesn't? Not because she's greedy, but because she's trying to understand why her grandparents don't love her the same. Clara's eyes widened. What list? She showed it to her school counselor, Mira said. The counselor called me, worried about her self-esteem. You're blaming us for that? Paul barked. I'm blaming you for what you've done. Mira cried. You've made my children feel like they have to earn love. For a long moment, no one spoke. The clock on the wall ticked louder than anyone's heartbeat. Myra's throat ached, but her anger was finally giving way to something heavier, grief. Then little Sophie, who had stopped crying, said quietly, Grandma said Lonnie and Mason aren't really family. The room froze. Sophie, Rena gasped, reaching for her daughter. Don't say that. Myra's head snapped toward her mother. What did she just say? Clara's face went pale. She's confused. Confused about what? Mira pressed, her voice trembling. Finish the sentence, Sophie. What did Grandma say? Rena tried to pull her daughter closer, but Sophie looked frightened and blurted out. Grandma said they're not really family because they don't have a dad. Myra's breath caught in her chest. The rain outside seemed to roar louder against the windows. Her mother's lips parted, but no words came out. Her father stared at the floor. You told my children's cousins they're not family because their father died? Mira whispered. Because I lost the man I loved? Clara's eyes filled with tears. It was taken out of context. I only meant. You meant exactly what you said. Myra's voice cracked. You've punished me for being strong, for surviving, for not falling apart the way you expected me to. You said Rena's girls need you more, but maybe they just make you feel needed. You can't handle a daughter who doesn't beg. Mira, please, her mother began. No, she said firmly. I begged enough when I was 26, holding a newborn in one arm and a 3-year-old in the other, begging you to help me through the nights I couldn't sleep. You said you were busy helping Rena. I believed you then. I don't anymore. Paul's voice rose, angered. You're twisting everything. You're being disrespectful. I'm being honest, Mira replied. For the first time in years. She took a deep breath, eyes red but steady. You won't see my kids again. No birthdays, no holidays, no surprise visits. We're done. Clara gasped. You can't do that. We're their grandparents. Grandparents earn that title through love, Mira said softly. Not blood. Rena's face twisted. You're overreacting. You'll regret this. Mira looked at her sister with pity. Maybe, but I'll never regret protecting my children. She turned toward the door, her hand trembling as she grabbed the knob. For a moment she hesitated, one last flicker of the old hope. Then she stepped into the rain and didn't look back. The next morning, sunlight filtered through Myra's kitchen curtains. The rain was gone, but the world felt strangely quiet. Her phone buzzed nonstop, dozens of missed calls and messages. Her mother, her father, even Rena, all saying the same thing. You're being cruel. You're tearing the family apart. Mira turned the phone face down. She made pancakes instead. When Lonnie came into the kitchen, still in her pajamas, she asked softly, Are we not seeing Grandma anymore? Mira crouched to her level. Not for a while, baby. Because they don't like us? Lonnie's voice cracked, but her eyes were calm, too calm for a 10-year-old. Myra's heart broke all over again. It's not that they don't like you. It's that they don't know how to love you right. Mason wandered in, rubbing his eyes. That's okay, Mama, he said sleepily. We've got you. Mira smiled through tears and pulled both children into her arms. Yeah, you do. That Sunday they stayed home. No phone calls, no forced smiles, no disappointments. They played board games, watched old cartoons, and laughed until their stomachs hurt. The house felt lighter than it had in years. 6 months later, peace had settled into their lives like gentle rain after a long drought. Her parents tried everything: guilt texts, surprise visits, long Facebook posts about ungrateful children. Mira ignored them all. Instead, she built something new. Lonnie joined a local theater group and found her voice on stage. Mason started piano lessons and learned to smile again. And together, they began saving for their own vacation. Not because anyone else said they could go, but because they wanted to make memories that belonged only to them. One night, as Mira tucked them in, Mason looked up and asked, Mama, are we going to Disney next year? Mira paused, then smiled. Maybe we will. Not because someone invited us, but because you both deserve it. His face lit up, bright as the fireworks she once saw only in photos. And in that moment, Mira realized something. This was the real magic. Not castles or parades, but healing. Choosing peace over pain. Love over longing. Family, the kind that shows up. Mira kissed her children goodnight and whispered, "We don't need their version of magic. We've made our own." Outside, the night was quiet. The world was new again. And for the first time in years, Mira didn't look back. Please like and share. Don't forget to hit on the subscribe button.